almost goes back to Peter Drucker in a way, doesn't it? What business are you in? What problem are you solving? I mean, so really this is about innovation, and it's that 55 minutes is the that you mentioned with Einstein is really getting the specificity. So that is the first element of this. One thing about the book that struck me is you had a lot of inspiring examples. They were examples of geniuses and people who had done amazing things. And when you think about the average person in your class, what does think bigger mean for them? Is it really, as an entrepreneur, a startup? Can you apply it to your personal life? I just want to right size here that this isn't about saving the world, solving climate change. Thinking bigger can contextually be manageable.
That's a beautiful question. And I would say first and foremost, at the very beginning of my class, what I say to them and I show them through both in-class exercises. Every single day, we start with what I call the creativity challenge. And it's always a different exercise. And the point of that is to show them that above all else, the exercise of creativity is not something that is innate. There's no such thing as somebody who's an analytical type or a creative type. This is a myth when you look at our brains under the MRI machine.
The right brain, left brain is not. That defies a lot of conventional wisdom, doesn't it? With
the right brain, left brain is a myth. Despite all those tests out there, it's a myth. Anybody can learn to be creative, just like anybody can go to the gym and learn a new type of exercise, whether it's yoga or Pilates or swimming. Sure, some people might get better at it as a function of how much effort and strategy they put into it, but anybody can learn it and anybody gets better in doing it. The average student in my class, so I have a bunch of students. So first of all, my class is a mix of engineering and MBA students because it is really important to have a diversity of knowledge. Actually, we even have architectural students and we have students from CEPA. So the second thing is, sure, a few of them, about 10 to 15% will go on to do startups. And we have had a few startups like Changing Room. Some have gone on to use it most of them go on to use it in their jobs. So we've actually placed quite a few students in consulting companies and startups where they bring the knowledge to help them become better problem solvers. Because ultimately, what is Think Bigger actually about? It is training you how to be better problem solvers.
So just talk about the matrix that you have. I believe is it a 6-step process? If just quickly flag it.
It's a 6-step method, and it has a tool called the choice map.
Yep.
Which looks like a matrix. Yes.
And so it starts with basically defining the problem. Forgive me, I'm going to let you say it because I know that you sum it up really nicely.
So there are 6 steps. It's define the problem, break it down, compare wants, search in and out of the box, choice map, and think of choice mapping as the alternative to brainstorming, and the third eye test. So those are your 6 steps.
Which is basically taking yourself, almost in a way, triangulating it and getting some sort of objective opinion on how it's viewed from the outside. Is that the third eye?
The third eye is a new way of collecting feedback, because most of the time when people have an idea up here in their heads, they think, oh, perfect, I'm ready to prototype. They don't realize the ideation phase is actually not over. You're not ready to go out there and go collect likes on social media. You're still an idiot. Third eye test is you've got an idea up here. Now you have to see, what exactly is this thing up here? What is the idea and how are people going to interpret? Until you are able to see that others can interpret your ideas in the way that you intended, it's not an idea. It's not ready to be evaluated. So the third I is, how do you go outside of yourself to learn how others will see your idea? And so it's a set of different verbal exercises. A lot of it has to do with listening. And a lot of it also has to do with creating visuals without creating prototyping. So think of it as pre-prototyping.
Mm-hmm.
This is just to see, how do I further flesh this out? How do I learn how people are going to interpret my idea? Only when there's alignment between what I see and what you see is it now ready for you to find out if it's worth pursuing.
As you've done this, I mean, obviously we want people should buy the book. We're not going to go through the whole book, but has it changed your own thinking or your own approach the more you've sort of dug into the science behind this? How
Absolutely.
tactically do you do things differently?
Absolutely. I would say the four things that I do now on a very regular basis, which I also, a lot of my students do. Those are the main takeaways, I think, for regular life lessons. Is first, when you're stuck in a meeting or you're stuck in a rut and you're going in circles and circles, I do pull myself back and I say, wait, what's the real problem I'm trying to solve?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody takes you in their own little directions and their own circles, and you get really confused. So you got to step back and say, what's the problem? The second thing is, when you have a problem and people are constantly telling, well, this is how we did it, this doesn't work, I do naturally now say, wait, somebody has solved this somewhere in some other world.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I look for that solution? And that helps really open one's mind. And thanks to our, various social media platforms, Google, you can have access to information if you know what you're looking for.
One thing, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think the third is, it's changed my way of understanding what I'm looking for in a solution, what my criteria is. I no longer say, what should the solution be able to do, as much as I say, wait, if I were to find the right solution, how do I want to feel? Because that's ultimately our real selection criteria. And the fourth is, I'm very cognizant that I'll describe something and I actually have to check how others actually interpreted it, because there's so much, it's so easy for there to be a misalignment.